Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. And we are live from Phoenix, Arizona. I have the blind shut because it is dazzling outside. And yesterday it was 110 degrees. It is crazy heat here. So thank you for joining me today. We're going to look at three things. How do you be more well known by the target audience you want to win business from? How do you create demand? And how do you win the client? So those three things are absolutely critical to you building any form of predictability online, whether that be LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, the works. It is critical that you are known. People see the demand, they need to work with you. They feel the need to work with you, and you can convert them. So we're going to look at what you need to do that. And before we get into this, I want to bust some myths, because a lot of you think that more visibility is the answer. I was scrolling through social media last night and I was in some groups looking at discussions that were happening. And people saying, if I just had more visibility, I'd get more clients. That is not true. More visibility doesn't necessarily equal more clients. In fact, the more visibility you get, the more your conversion rate goes down. Now, that is compensated for by volume. Most people I speak to do not want to play a volume business. They don't need hundreds and hundreds of clients, hundreds and hundreds of leads. They need 2 or 3 of the right clients buying each month. Some of you sell some seriously high value stuff that one client in a whole year is all you need. So when we think about this, it's not visibility for visibility's sake. It's not being known by everybody. It's being known by the right people. And it's 2 different strategies to be known by the right people versus just being known generally. Now, at the same time, we all know that's logical, right? It's not about the number of views, it's the quality of the views. That is absolutely true. But at the same time, you have to face another reality. Before we get into this, you are wired as a human being to want broad appeal. You are wired, psychologically, whatever it is, caveman brain, animal brain, whatever it is, to want to get more engagement because it's approval. We're pack animals, and so we want to be appreciated by the pack. So we have this inbuilt flaw that makes us want to appeal to as many people as possible, even when we know I only need to be relevant to CEOs of SaaS companies or whoever your target is. I only need to be relevant to them. But we are pack animals wired to try and appeal to everybody. And so what happens is we conflate visibility with actual impact. And somebody liking your post because you told them a good story is great because they don't remember your name. But the story has to take them somewhere. The stuff you're doing on social media, it's not just let's do everything and it'll all magically come together. It's a system. The visibility has to help you be known. It has to make you memorable. It has to make you sticky for the right reasons. Would you rather be known as that entertaining person, that person who produces useful tips, or the person who can solve a specific problem or challenge? Think about it for a moment, because I know you're going to say, I want to be known for the person who solves a specific problem or challenge. You will say that. Go look at your activity. Is it actually all lined up? In your head, when you're writing your content, you have a person in mind. Is that person seen in your content? Because if you want to be known, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be known by? And I'm teaching the basics today because when I get into my framework and I show you the framework, this will put your business model under pressure. It will squeeze your business model. Because if your business model doesn't align with this, you're just doing something completely different. If your business is about selling a piece of software to a certain demographic, you need to get under the skin of that demographic and why they would need it, why they would buy it. So being known, who do you want to be known by? Because then the next part of that is you've got to dig into that persona, really understand who they are, what motivates them, what drives them, literally what motivates them, because you need them to be motivated to take action. You need to understand what drives them. What will get them to get off their backside and do something. You need to know that. And it won't be the same for every persona, but there will be a common thread in one persona. So you need to know what motivates them, because you then have to create the demand. Now, people think like, oh, people want things or they don't. That's not true. It's not true. A lot of the time, people don't take action, people don't move forward because there is no urgency for them to do it. It's your responsibility to show them and help them see the urgency. It's not theirs. If you approach business with the view that actually people will buy it or they won't, it's the wrong way of thinking. If you know that you can make a difference, you can make a difference to your target audience's life, business, career, whatever it is. It's your responsibility to help them see it. It's like if somebody breaks their leg or somebody injures their leg and you know it's harmful to them. Somebody injures their leg, right? You don't say, oh, as a health professional or as a doctor, you don't say, do you know what? I'll let you make up your mind whether you change it. That's not how it works. You have to make the case, a compelling case, not trying to convince them, a compelling case of why they need to take action now. That's not just about selling your stuff, by the way. That's what's best for them, because human beings normalize problems they shouldn't normalize. You've done it, I've done it. We normalize stuff. And if you don't shake them out of that, if you don't stir up that urgency, they will live in that problem. They will accommodate themselves to that problem. And some of you have struggled because you've never really got this. You kind of know it, but it's never sunk in. You've never got it. You're responsible for shaking them out of complacency. If they are living with a pain that you know they shouldn't be living with, and you back yourself, you believe in yourself, you should be shaking them out of it. Now, that's not pitching people. That's not, just aggressively selling. That's deeper than that. You've got to address what motivates them as a human being and what will bring that pain to the top of their priority list. Because the reality is, if you're struggling to sell and you've got great results for other people, great testimonials, great client case studies, you've got all of that stuff, but you're struggling to sell, what it means is your service, what you do, the problem you solve, is lower down on their priority list. And you've got to have the ability to create demand by helping them move that up the priority list. That's an emotional decision. It's not logical. People move things up the priorities by how they're stirred up. It's not objective, it's subjective. So you've got to create that demand, because if you do, if you get the visibility so people know who you are, now if you're creating the demand with it, You're actually stirring people to act. Then you need to be able to convert them to win the client. And that's really about what process are you putting in place to actually take people on a journey. Because so many people mess up the actual conversion process. And I'll give you an example. I had a client the other day. They got a lead, and the lead was interested in what they do. And the client killed the momentum because the prospect told them why they were reaching out. The client didn't do anything with that and just said, let's have a call. Disappeared. So you have to be able to take them down a process and keep the momentum, because life gets in the way. And so what happens is something comes to the top of their priority list. In other words, they reach out, they inbound message you, they do all that good stuff. And if you don't keep that momentum, and something else might come up and it falls back down again. So today, what I'm going to do, that was the preamble here. I'm going to show you a 5-step framework that I use to do all 3 of those things, to get you known by the right people, to create the demand, and to actually convert them. So I'm going to show you the framework. If you want me to send it to you, I will send you. I've got a little guide, a little PDF guide about this in more detail. So just drop me a DM me, just say guide or something like that. Can I have the guide, Dean? And I will send you this PDF which walks you through how this works in a bit more detail. We're going to break it down here. So DM me if you want that. I'm going to break it down here. So first off, before you can do any of those 3, you've got to dig into your target audience. You've got to know what pain they're in, what problem they've got, what they think about it, feel about it, how it's showing up. You've got to get into the weeds of really understanding your customers. Now, some of you are going to get bored and maybe switch off at me here, but I'm going to tell you because this is so important. This is where the money is. This bit here is where the money is. You've got to dig deep into your customer and why they think the way they do, why they do what they do, and really dig into it. Not what you think. You need to get and figure it out, because you have to create what I call, number 1, 4-second value proposition. Now, I'll explain what that is, but fundamentally, it's just real simple. If you're trying to win business online, people are easily distracted. Nuance often gets buried. And so in 4 seconds, you've got to be able to show them why they need to stop scrolling, why they need to pay attention to your message, why they need to pay attention to your content, why they should look more into your services. If you don't do this bit, basically it will be like ships passing in the night. They'll know you, but they won't know you for the right reasons. Think about it. If attention spans are short and people are easily distracted, you have to basically land your message in seconds. Not minutes, seconds. And so I look at people's profiles and they say, oh, I do this and I do that. But they don't really name what the problem is. They say I do coaching, or I'm a consultant. Or as somebody did the other day, a brand strategist says, I give you clarity. About what? Why does that matter? So this 4-second value prop, basically, it's not just about a hook on a post. It's how am I making sure that the first thing they see from me is something they want to know more about. And the only way you do that is by digging deeply into who you want to do business with, what motivates them, how the problems show up. building your offer so that it stacks up both at a high level, but also when they dig into the weeds. And we're going to look at that in a moment. So this 4-second value prop is like basically fundamental. If you go back through your stuff and you go, can people see why it's beneficial to them? What's in it for them? Can they see something that matters for them in the first 4 seconds? If the answer is no, you've missed the boat straight away. When you get this bit right, the right people start paying attention to you. The right people start engaging. The right people start adding you. The right people start sharing your stuff. The right people start looking at what you offer in your services. So this 4-second value prop is about showing the right people why they should pay attention to you. Showing the right people the message that will get you known for the right reasons. So that's foundational. Everybody wants to skip that because they think they know it. And yet when I look at their content, I go, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. You don't need, if you get a 4-second value prop, you don't need to do all these crazy social media tactics. If you can land your value and your message in seconds, you don't need to be doing this crazy, I'm going to outbound comment to hopefully more people will comment with me and I'll get leads. Because algorithms basically follow interest. I'll give you an example of this. I did a Facebook page, started a brand new Facebook page, 0 followers. And I started posting a particular type of content that would flip the switch of one audience. With 0 followers, I gained 5,000 followers in 60 days. 60 days. And 5 million views. Because I was really focused on who this was for. So that's the power of this stuff. Now, number 2, once you've done that 4-second value prop and you've tidied up your whole messaging, how you present what you sell, all that kind of stuff, you need to translate that into your presence. So in other words, in your content, your profile, everything you're doing, that 4-second value prop needs to be there. And one big thing here, it needs to be very, very clear through your profile. Because when people get interested in what you do, the first place they're going to study and have a look at is your profile. If you put a post out that triggers them, that prompts them, the first thing they're going to go is, who's this person? They're going to look back at your profile, and that is your chance to actually show them why what you do matters for them. From the banner all the way through pinned posts, featured section, services, about, all of that stuff, bio, headlines, all of that stuff should be moving people forward, that they go, this might be relevant for me. This could be what I want to do. This is, so they need to see social proof. They need to clearly see it's for them. They need to see the outcome, the problem. They need to see what you're actually selling. The other day, I was roasting somebody's profile for them, and I looked at it and I said, it's great you're offering a call to learn more. And they had it on their profile, book a call to learn more. But I said to them, about what? About what? You see, when we're looking at our own presence, profile, content, everything, we join the dots. We see everything we've posted and go, it's obvious what I do. Why are you assuming that they've seen all your posts? Why are you assuming that they'll look through everything you do and go, I'm going to study this person to find out what they do? They won't. They won't pay more attention unless they see direct personal benefit. So your profile's job, your presence's job, is to actually get people educated but show them, you take them deeper in essence, so that when they move forward, they leave, they actually know what you do. If you can get your presence to be pre-selling for you, when it comes to the call, they'll have more trust, more confidence, they'll understand your offer a bit more. So when you go on the sales call, it's not going to be this Herculean effort to try and do everything in that call. Loads of the stuff has been done beforehand. Pre-selling, if you're not a full-time salesperson and you don't want to be, pre-selling is your best friend. That means they need to see proof that you can deliver results for them. They need to see the process of how you deliver those results, your methodology. They need to see the promise of what you're going to do for them. They need all this stuff out, not buried in your website, in your profile, in your presence, so that they can look around. But initially, when they land on your profile, you need to hook them in with that 4-second value prop. So pre-selling presence basically reinforces what you do so that they leave knowing what you do. So people will need to see you multiple times before they decide to reach out, before they decide to buy, and they need to know why they need to reach out. So you need to get that out there, not just in content, because the content drives people back to your profile. It needs to be in your profile. So pre-selling profile number 2, or presence. Number 3, you need an audience of buyers. Now, I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, and I know we're talking about this kind of across platforms. I'm going to tell you this. I'm in a group on Facebook, and I like going in that group. I add insights in there, and I answer people's questions and help them, because it's a great way to build my brand as well. But the group is full of my target audience. So it's obviously strategically useful for me. And in this group, my target audience are all talking to each other. They're having hours of debates about different things. And, that's great. That's helpful. When I look at what they do on their profiles, nothing. And this is true on LinkedIn. A lot of you have filled your network with people like you. You've spent your time networking in your industry. You've spent your time accumulating contacts from people you used to work with. I'm going to say it bluntly, they're no use to you. They're of no use to you. And I'm being ruthless here. Sure that it's good to network with your competitors and people in your industry, obviously. But how much of your network is actually people and buyers versus randoms? Because I look at my Instagram. A lot of my followers on my Instagram are people that probably are no longer relevant. So if you're not pulling in the right people, you're doing all this work to basically promote yourself to basically the people who do what you do. It doesn't make sense. I look at some influencers' content, and it's like, why are you promoting to your own industry? And of course, it's easier to get applause from your own industry because they, value the information you're going to share more than probably some clients would, or at least initially they would. But it's no point. I've got a post I put out, and it doesn't do well by, social media standards. Maybe, last time I did it, I got about 583 views, which is, not good. Except every time I put it out, it gets me 13, 10, 12, 5 leads, inbound leads. Because I've 2 things. One, I'm using the message that resonates. And I'll just be really clear, right? If you start talking to your buyer, right, 2 things will happen. It's very difficult to get engagement and reach, high reach, when you're talking to a specific audience. because your content doesn't have broad appeal. If I show you a picture of my cute dog, everybody can engage with that. Everybody can resonate with that. Everybody who loves dogs, mass audience, that's going to go off. That's going to go well. But my target audience, talking about their challenges around their value prop, most people are not going to pay attention to that. For most people, it's not relevant. And so the tendency is to shift towards posting the puppy pictures, but actually the things that will actually get buyers hanging around you is the stuff that actually resonates with them. And here's the kind of self-fulfilling bit of this. The way social media works now, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, is that what you talk about, the algorithm will look at it and go, who is this relevant to? And show it to more people like that. So for an example, if I get some random people from the other side of the world engaging with my puppy picture, LinkedIn will just show it to more people who like puppy pictures. So if we want to build an audience of buyers, first of all, LinkedIn, grow your network with the buyers, but your content also is going to attract the right people or the wrong people. So we've got to really think about, and I'll give you an example from the Facebook page. I knew that audience tightly. I knew what was interesting for them. The algorithm found the audience for me. And that's where we are now. The algorithm will find the audience for me. And just the other day, LinkedIn said they're clamping down on generic content. They want things with perspectives and opinions and depth. So you really need to think about, if you want an audience of buyers, you have to talk to them. You have to grow your network with them. You have to think about maybe groups. Are they in groups? You can join and start to contribute in there. And then as they engage with you, add them into your own network. You've got to have a strategy of how you get in front of the right people, because just posting is not going to do it. It's too random. There has to be some strategy behind how you get in front of the right people. And that does not mean volume. Because like we said at the beginning here, if you got in front of 50 of the right people and could get them to move and take action, guess what? You've made a lot of money. So it's not really about volume, because if you can get one person to move, you can get two people to move. And if you only need 20 people to buy in a year or 10 people to buy in a year, that's all you need to do. And sometimes we go to the volume answer first. And now with social media the way it is, actually the resonance angle is going to be more profitable for you, unless, and I'll just say this, unless your objective is to become, a full-time content creator and an influencer. And then I would argue what you want to do is basically get to revenue positive first before you do that, because otherwise you're going to be slogging it out, not making any money. So 50 people resonating with you, is all you need. I'm not saying that's all you want, but it's all you need. You're wired to want the volume, but actually to get in front of the audience of buyers, you need to think about groups you need to be adding and contributing to. You need to think about how you grow and expand your network. You need to think about how and who you engage with so you can build up that community around you. And it does not need to be big. It does not need to be big. LinkedIn's really easy at this because you can grow your network. That's not the only thing you do, but you can grow your network. You can't force grow your network on Instagram, for example. You have to use the content to bring the right people. Think about it. So that's we've done the 4-second value prop, the pre-selling profile, an audience of buyers. You've got to build that, and it does not need to be big, right? When people say build an audience, often what they mean is, I want to get thousands of followers. What I say is you want tens, maybe hundreds of buyers. You don't need hundreds of buyers right now, but you need a flow of them coming in, a plan to get them in, whether it's 5 a day, 10 a day, 1 a day, 1 a week. Does not matter, but you need that plan. Okay, build an audience of buyers. Next, we need a path to clients. It's great having all these people around you, And I'll give you an example of this in a minute. It's great having loads of people hanging around you and consuming your stuff. How are you going to get them to convert into a lead? How do you get them into a lead? And a lot of people have done very, very well at getting known, being visible, but not capturing the leads. Part of that reason is they don't understand the message that will actually get people to convert into a lead. 4-second value prop section. That's a common issue. People don't know what to say or what to put out there that will actually get a lead. They've spent too much time in their industry and it's fried their brain. And so they talk to customers like they're talking to an industry peer. Spent too much time in your industry and not enough in the field with customers to understand how they think, how they tick. So you've got to have a way to capture the leads. Now, I teach 5 different ways. I'm not saying you do 5 different ways, but there are 5 different ways to do it. And I'll just explain what they are. First one is your content, demand creating content. Content that creates that trigger that drives inbound. Content that gets people to want to download your lead magnet. Content that gets people to signal they need your help. Demand creation content. Now, that's not the same as what most people put out. That kind of content is designed to trigger people to convert. It's a different type of content. Most of the time, the content people put out is what I would say is awareness or attract content. It builds visibility. Or they put out tips and tricks, which builds trust. And there's nothing wrong with that. But demand content triggers people to move. It creates tension. It agitates. It opens up that kind of wound that's festering. It gets people out of their comfort zones. It shakes them out. This kind of content rubs at people so that they feel they're compelled to do something. You don't do that by saying, I've only got 5 places left. You don't do the countdown clocks. That's artificial urgency. Demand content actually drives internal urgency. It's from the inside out, because all buying is emotional, even in corporate. The reason why people do or don't buy is an emotion. They don't feel certain, so they put it off, or they feel certain and they take it forward. They don't feel like they need to do it now, so they don't. So this type of content forces something up to the surface. It's not just how-to tips and testimonials. It's a strategic piece of content, and you have to put them into your feed every week to drive that demand. That's the first of the 5 ways you can do it. Second is build a newsletter, build an email list. Get people in there, drive people into your email list through lead magnets, all those kind of things. But get people into your newsletter where then you can do that stuff. You see who's signed up. You can put them into a follow-up sequence. You can put them into a call booking sequence. You can do all of that good stuff. Email today is still the top performing medium for acquisition of customers. Even today, even with all of our tools, it has a better ROI even than LinkedIn. It's the top of the tree. So people think email's dead. Actually, email is gives you control, because it's the only means of marketing that you can control. LinkedIn could take your account away tomorrow. Instagram can change the algorithm so you're invisible. Email is future-proof. So newsletter and email list is powerful. So you get them into your email list, and then you have specific emails using the same principles as demand creation, demand content, same principles in email format to actually obviously nurture, obviously give them value, but actually trigger them to move. Email allows you to have longer term conversations. Because think about it, if somebody sees your content tomorrow, I have zero control over whether they'll see my content the next day, the day after, the day after, the day after. And content isn't a one post game. that people need to see multiple things. So demand creation content, great. Newsletter is a long form version in an ecosystem you can control. So that's really good. Next one, it could be as simple as you just build relationships. You have a strategic approach to building relationships on the platform. So I'll give you one of my examples. I do this one on Facebook. Don't do this so much on LinkedIn, but I do this one on Facebook. I will join groups on Facebook where my target audience hang out, and I will add value in those spaces. And then those who engage, I'll friend request them, move them into my profile, and in my profile, I have my demand creation content. I have my lives. I have all the stuff that I do. So that's another way to build relationships, network in groups, individually build relationships. It's not about taking months to get to know somebody. It's about a strategic cadence of actions to build that trust, become known, and actually start a conversation. Really good for salespeople, this approach, and I teach it quite a lot in sales environments. I was teaching it here in Phoenix yesterday. Then we've got the hyper-targeted outreach. Now, this is the sniper approach to getting clients. In 30 minutes a day, you can book at least one meeting every single day. 30 minutes. It's about being very high touch and, like I said, sniper, very targeted, very focused. It's not mass outreach. It's not sales pitching people. In fact, I would argue you don't sell anything in the DMs. Well, no, that's not true. The only thing you sell in the DMs, is a conversation. You're not selling anything else. Your service, what you do, that's on a call. You don't sell that in the DMs. That's transactional thinking. People don't buy that way. It's lazy. It doesn't work. So the hyper-targeted is about being very targeted, very relevant. I did one the other day, and somebody who was skeptical said, "Oh my God, if you did that to me, I would definitely book a call." I did it to them, skeptical. They said, "Outreach doesn't work." I did one for them, sent it to them, and said, "Yeah, it worked. Yeah, I see it." So it's not about volume, it's about sniper approach, and it's very, very effective. And then the final one, and again, you don't have to do all five. I'll recap all five in a second so you can see what they are. The final one is lives, doing this stuff. So this has the great advantage of you get to know me, you get to know how I think, and you get to get some value. But also some of you will DM me and say, "Hey Dean, I want to implement this. I've been struggling." I get referrals. I get a lot of referrals, but they're hit and miss. "Dean, can you help me with that? I need that system in my business. I need to be able to get off social media and actually do client work, because at the moment I'm wasting my life on social media." It's funny. So many people go, you see it on social, people saying, "Oh, if you just post content, you'll have more leads and you won't have to stress out about all this stuff." Content, some people are spending their content and their social media has become another job because they're doing a lot of work for little return. And that's a message problem. That's a process problem. Not sexy, but it is. If you want to be 30 minutes and make money in 30 minutes on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, it's a message and a process. Now, making money in 30 minutes a day on Instagram sounds fantastic, doesn't it? That's message and process. Yeah. My Instagram makes me money, but if you looked at it, you'd go, doesn't make money. I make more money from my Instagram than most content creators from Instagram. And I've only got 2,700 followers. It's like nothing. I don't even get, most of my content doesn't break out of huge likes. I don't need it to, because the things that I would do to get huge likes would mean appealing to the wrong people. So lives are really powerful for building that depth and that trust. So if you're selling yourself, your expertise, or you've got a complicated sell, these are great. So I've been doing them for 6 years, over and over and over, over and over and over and over and over. So that's the 5 pathways, the paths to client. Content, demand creation content, newsletter or email list, relationship building through strategic approach, hyper-targeted outreach, sniper, lives. Then we come to the final part of this process, the conversion piece. You've caught all these leads. You've got all these leads, great. And most of my clients can get 100 leads a month from going on LinkedIn, for an example, really easily. The bit that you have to then do is convert those leads. Now, most of you won't need 100 leads, but you need it because you have to optimize your conversion process. If you don't know how to run a conversion process, you will be hemorrhaging money. If you miss this, you will hemorrhage money. So for an example, you do lives, a load of people engage with you, and you do nothing with that. You just do a live and wait. That's not going to work. You build a newsletter, people start interacting with it, people start asking you questions about it, and you don't do anything with that. You need a conversion system. Now, let me just tell you what the simple parts of the conversion systems are, and I call it LAPD. Not the police department, but LAPD, that's how you remember it. Yeah. The first thing is you captured the lead. You've got to capture a lead. Conversions, the pathway does that. The next thing you've got to do is actually get them on an appointment, a call. That is a plan, that's a process. To get a lead, to go to a call, yes, you can just say, hey, fancy a call. They probably will say no to that, or they'll probably ignore you. You've got to do that lead to appointment in a very careful way. Once you've done it once, it's the same way every time, pretty much. But if you don't think about that, what happens is people will just go silent. That's not them losing interest. That's you being lazy. You've not built that process from lead to appointment. Then the next part is on that call, yeah, what you do to get that lead on a call, let me go back a bit. What you do to get that lead on a call is very important. Yeah, it's not just about getting them in the calendar, because a lot of people don't show up for calls. That's in your control. You're in control of getting people to the call. You think you're reliant on them. No, it's in your control. You can minimize that. You can prevent that. You need a process. So LAPD, lead to appointment. On the appointment, you have to unlock the proposal. In other words, you can't just go on there, wing it, and hope it'll magically turn out. There is a process you have to actually get that client to see at the end of the call, I want to move forward. It's not manipulation, it's process. If you don't have a process to run a call, you will go all over the show. You will not take your client on a journey or a prospect on a journey, and they will end that call and go, well, they seem like a nice person. And because of the way human beings are, they'll go, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. And they'll lie ball to your face to be polite. They have zero interest. You know you can help them, but because of the way you did that call, they don't see it. They could come to the call thinking you can help them, and the way you do the call, they leave it going, I'm not sure they can, because of your process. So lead to appointment, appointment to proposal, in other words, proposing how you can help them. That might be a formal, might be a tender, it might be just you're talking it through, might be an email, doesn't have to be something formal. Now we've got proposal to deal. Once you've got a proposal and you've got to that stage, you've got to get that to close. Again, a lot of this is in your control. It's not, you're not, a hostage to fortune. How you propose that and how you deliver that proposal and how you follow up that proposal can determine whether it just sinks back down to nothing or it stays at the top of their agenda. If your proposals are like quotes, you'll lose it. You'll lose more. If your proposals lay out how you can help them get to the place they want to be and remind them of where they are right now, you'll actually close more proposals. So LAPD. You get a lead, you got to get it to a call. You get a call, you got to get them to a proposal. From the proposal, you got to get them to close a deal. So this is how you do it. It's a system. And here's the fascinating thing. Some of you might go, that's a lot of work, Dean. No. It's a lot of work once. It's a lot of work once. Once you've got a proposal structure, you just use the same one. Once you've got a flow to get people from leads to appointments, you just use the same thing. Once you've got a lives doing, like for an example of one of the 5 that's getting you lead, you just do it over and over and over again. And so what happens is you've, instead of made social media like just this thing we have a go at, instead of just going online and going, let's just do some stuff, you're working a system. You're turning a wheel that's turning all the other wheels. You've got an engine. You've got an engine that will actually create visibility for you, build the demand for you with the leads, and then you've got a way to convert them. But most people are not building those things. What they're doing is they're looking for a shiny object. They're looking for a secret strategy. And the answer here is not a secret strategy. The answer here is building a system. If you look at all successful businesses, they have a process and a system to go from awareness to sale to deliver the goods, the full process. If you look at a car factory, they take orders, they make the cars, they deliver the cars, they service the cars. It's a system. If you want to do something over and over and over again, you need the systems to enable you to do it over and over and over again. Otherwise, every time you're making it up as you go along. You're just having a go, you're winging it. And winging it works a little while, but eventually you get fed up of it. You actually want predictability. And the great thing about systems is they take out a lot of wasted time. A lot of wasted time. I've got a testimonial from one of my clients, and they said, I'm getting 2 to 3 calls every week now. I just closed my 3rd client after working with you. It was the easiest sale I've ever done. And it's not that time consuming. I just do this, this, and this, and it works. Why? Because you built a system. So if you want to create that demand, you want that to be known, create demand, and win the clients, it's not a secret strategy. It's putting a few foundations in place and working them. So if you want that guide, that little PDF about this in more detail, just drop me a DM. Just say, can you send me that PDF, Dean? I've got to go and do a workshop with some companies in a moment, but I will send it to you later today. I'm actually, for those of you, I'm in the US, I'm in Phoenix. So in the UK, it's about, I don't know, something to 4, but here it is something to 7. So I've got to run off and deliver some training for a few companies here in Phoenix. So if you want that guide, DM me and just say, can I have the guide? And I will send it to you once I'm back. But have a great weekend. You know, you are closer to predictable revenue and predictable leads and clients than you realize, like way closer. There's a few little foundational elements that if you get them in place, tweak into adjustments, you will have that predictability. It's not a big Herculean thing. It's about creating the process, and then it gets easy. It gets simple. It gets straightforward. Right, I got to go. There's some people who need some training. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your weekend.